section. Welcome to the panel discussion on developing mobility and variable based contactless payments. We would like to begin by thanking you all for being a part of 14th edition of Digital Money Innovation to Scale. We would like to thank our partners, title partner Lyra, powered by partner PhonePe, brought to you by partner WhatsApp, and digital collection partner EaseBus. Without further ado, let me introduce today's panel. We have with us Mr. Kamaljeet Rastogi, Chief Executive Officer, Manipal Business Solution, who will be moderating the session. Also, we have Mr. Ashish Khandelwal, Head, MI Financial Services India, Mr. Sajal Bhatnagar, Chief Business Officer, Paytm Payments Bank, and Mr. Sachin Jangel, Co-founder and CTO, Goki. I would request all the delegates to kindly post their questions on the chat box and our panel will address them at the end of the session. Thank you. And over to you, Mr. Rastogi.
Thanks a lot, Deepika. Thanks a lot for the introduction. So I'm quite excited about this session. The topic is, all the science fiction movies that we have seen. It is kind of that topic. We have seen the actors, flash their watches, rings, and something that they're wearing to open doors to multi-billion dollar safes and rockets, missiles. So it's that kind of topic. So quite exciting. And here we are going to discuss when is this going to become a reality in India in the payment space and in the transaction space. So first of all, I want to thank the audience who have joined for this session. I would really request them to stay tuned. The virtual model is not that captive, but really request you to stay tuned and also to engage and asking questions, which we'll take at the end. So contactless payments, we know that now most of the cards we carry in our pockets, they are contactless. With COVID, also we have the usage has increased. But it has opened the door for variables, right? So rings, wrist bands, watches are also on the way. At the same time, if you look at the data, some of the analysis done by the reports, it says that hardly 2% people globally are actually using wearable technology, and 31% people said that they are not even interested in this technology. This is global data. Also, there are some data security and privacy concerns. People say that okay, if it's just contactless, can some of my ID be stolen? At the same side, we know that Apple Watch with NFC made highest sales, right? And also in countries like Singapore and Poland, there's a high adoption of wearables. Also, you may remember that Visa launched its payment ring during the 2016 Olympics and was given to few athletes for usage. So there are two sides of this whole story, and also there's a forecast that the positive variable payment market is going to grow to $82 billion by 2026, right? So with that background, I think we are all interested to know and to hear from the panelists who are here, who are actually working on this space. So Ashish is head of Me Financial Services. It's part of Xiaomi India. So from mobile handsets to other devices, and now building payment, lending, and insurance businesses. Then we have Sajal, Chief Business Officer, Payments Payment Bank, an ex-consultant business leader with experience in setting up new businesses and growing them to an exceptional scale. He's been with Paytm for 6 years in various roles, I believe. Then we have Sachin Jangel, co-founder and CEO Goki. Goki is a smart preventive healthcare ecosystem which enables you to live a healthy and active life. He has experience in games, interactive application development. So we have an excellent panel from different sides, from healthcare to banking to cards to other to handset devices. So it would be great to listen to them. Myself, I represent Manipal Business Solutions. We are into financial inclusion, payments, gold loan, virtual IDs, virtual cards, and fraud risk management solutions. So let's start the discussion. I think we'll start with Sajal. So what are each one of you and Sajal, and then everybody else can on the panel can also take a shot at it. What each one of you are doing in terms of use cases and devices to enable transactions through variables. Starting with you, Sajal.
Thank you, Kamaljeet. Very, very precisely put introduction. Um, so I'll start with my experience or our experience as Paytm Payment Bank. So we have been working on payment side on across various use cases, various business modes, and various methods of payments across the board since last quite a few years. Our experience essentially tells us for any payment method to scale up or any payment mode to scale up, there are three things that need to be satisfied. It has to be convenient, obviously. Convenience can be further broken down into speed, accessibility, and a lot of other things. It has to be safe. Indian customers operate in a slightly trust deficit market. So building that customer trust is critical. And third is cost, right? And honestly speaking, when I look at variables, I see all of these three things converging today. There is this significant reduction on cost that we are seeing by virtue of a lot of new companies coming in. Obviously, my partners on the panel today would have a lot to add there as well. Safety, obviously, RBI being a fairly proactive regulator, and then the overall market moving on to internet first payments have built in a lot of uh, systems and checks in place, which I think can scale up faster and quickly to take care of this. And then obviously convenience is there. Now coming to what we are doing, for us, it is a use case based implementation. At the end of the day, for any payment system or any mode of payment to take up and scale up, it has to have certain hero use cases. Clearly, what variables bring to the market as a key differentiator is accessibility and convenience. Right? There are other modes of payments which basically takes care of safety and cost as well. But accessibility of variable is unparalleled. So any high frequency, high volume use case immediately becomes a very good fit for us. One very good example would be transit, right? So if you go to metros or buses or any other transit ecosystem, we typically have these huge queuing problems, and building a, a easy to access, easy to use payment medium over there is critical to solve those queues. And if you think about it, right, there are multiple queuing points. There's payment queuing point, then there's cash recharge queuing point, and all of that just converge into one and become so much more smoother once we are able to build migrate it into a device which is so much more easily accessible, like a payment band or wristwatch or fitness tracker for that matter, right? Second is a lot of closed user experience groups like events, uh, places which have access control built in, um, schools, cafeterias. All of these, we are seeing a lot of demand coming from this segment as well. uh, why is this happening? Because suddenly by so this band or this variable or whatever the technology, it could even be a sticker for that matter, right, is essentially becoming your identity. What fastech changed for vehicles is that fastech became an identity of a vehicle. And then obviously we started seeing a lot of benefit coming in tolls, in petrol payments, and so on and so forth. And suddenly you see that in a lot of these closed user groups, these variables sort of become your identity, or start becoming a very heavy use case or heavily used item as well. So there we are seeing a lot of adoption. Then obviously it comes to we're seeing a lot of teenagers showing a significant amount of interest. So a lot of those prepaid wallets, prepaid payment solutions are coming in, where parents are giving expenses to their teenagers, and they're basically using it for their various sundry expenses, and all of those is also a very heavy use case adoption method, adoption user base. One last point that I want to talk about in terms of what we are seeing in the market and where we are seeing adoption happening is so for example, payment today is a separate process, part of a process. You do your transaction and then you make a payment. increasingly we are seeing payment is becoming part of the order fulfillment cycle. So what we are seeing today is payment is becoming part of order. What we see probably happening in future, it will also become part of fulfillment. A lot of this fulfillment can happen on variable. For example, without taking name of a hospital, one hospital basically gives a variable band to all of their patients. So whenever any treatment is administered to the patient, the variable band tracks the treatment and automatically starts crediting patient's account for payments or against health insurance and so on and so forth. And think about it, this can even integrate with the health insurance or lending ecosystem. So all of that suddenly just collapses into a single variable. So a lot of places where we see this payment getting into the overall order fulfillment cycle, all of that places we see that there is this need for a separate token or separate payment method, which I think variables are in a very very great place to fulfill, and we are doing it at various places as well. So yeah, so that is it from my side. I think I will hand it
Interesting,
over
interesting,
back to you.
Sajal. Ever since I have been in the payment space, we've talked about how to make payments invisible. There should no event for payment. So I think what you mentioned with the hospital case is interesting. The payment will keep on happening. At the same time, there is this security concern and all. So I'll request Sachin also to share his views and also on the security side of it.
Yeah, hi everyone. I think first let me talk a little bit. What we are doing at Goki and how we are finding ourselves in the middle of a forum where everybody is talking about payment and how health is connected to the payment world, and not just the variable, but then there is more interesting thing what we were able to do at Goki. What essentially we are doing is we have a smart preventive ecosystem which combines the data from wearable to a human coach, and then this human coach is able to provide the users the motivation and the feedback and the guidance which the user require. What we essentially, and what Sajal also spoke about various use cases, and for the user to able to track their activities, fitness level, and all using a wearable is a fantastic way of convenience as well as quantification. What we were able to also do was to combine our wearable with a payment solution, and then use what we call as behavior modification for enabling the user to use the medium. So essentially, there are two things what we believe people really keen or need for making any behavior change. One is motivation, and second is gratification or rewarding. So we were able to do both using a solution where we were able to build a proposition to our users, where with the same variable now they are able to manage their health, and also they are able to take care of the wealth also, where they are able to spend the money on the pause. Now what essentially that also does is, when you're spending on pause, it is rewarding in the banking system. If you're using a credit card or a debit card, it gives you some rewards over there. But what our banking partner was able to do was to utilize the health data and reward the user for that. So while you're wearing that wearable to make the payment, you're also tracking your steps. And for every 70,000 steps you walk, you get rewarded by our banking partner in their reward mechanism. So that is something which has really hooked up a lot of our users to continue to use this. While the payment might not be a daily use case for some of our users, but definitely tracking their health and earning and getting rewarded using the that data by the bank is very very attractive. So that is what was a very unique use case which we came up, and we launched this product way back in 2016 with our banking partner Axis Bank, and it's been very very successful from there. But again, use case not just limited to making a payment, as Sajal was mentioning, that there is a lot of other places. There is a huge potential for wearable to come in and play a very significant role, whether it's a transit, whether it's a medical setup where the user can go, or it's a event setup and all. So wearable can do a lot. What we believe is there has to be a way that people a user can get instant gratification as well as feedback from the system, which really helps. uh, In terms of security, I think using a wearable is more or less the same as how you use your plastic card. Of course, it is you have to take care of ownership of it, and there are significant ways and mechanism are built to ensure you are able to have full control on your wearable, and there are ways to monitor as well as make changes or make them enable or disable for the usage. Similarly, the RBI has also built up a lot of guidelines, and they have initially started with a limitation of 2,000 rupees per transaction, which was eventually increased to 5,000. Surely, there's a lot of confidence in terms of the solution over there, as well as the safety and the usage of that. Hence, there's a gradual increase of that limit is happening, and I believe this is going to further get improvised with the introduction of tokenization solution, which gives complete control and safety to the users to manage their wearable, as well as bring a very very safe environment for making a transaction.
Okay. Now I found your earning point very interesting. Instead of paying, if you can earn through a variable, that's fantastic. Something like the cashback that was used by the wallet companies to encourage usage of wallet. So I think that's very interesting. So Ashish, what is Xiaomi up to on the variable side?
Thanks, Kamaljeet. Thanks for hosting us here. Quite an interesting topic. So let me just give a brief overview, right? Xiaomi per se doesn't require any introduction, right? We are the most loved smartphone brand in the country. And from the time we launched smartwatches in the fitness band, we have shipped over 7 million devices. Now, what we are doing, right, and what we were known for so far, right, is mostly a fitness or the lifestyle brand. We said, okay, fine, why not enable payment on the fitness or the brands, right? And so as to make contactless payment far more, wider, and make sure that it's affordable as well. So at this point in time, as we speak, we are working in terms of enabling those bands and the watches with the payment option. Coming to the second part, which is about the security and safety, as Sachin also mentioned, right? While regulators have been very proactive in the country, and there are lots of intervention which have been done by them. If you look at this entire technology space, number one, NFC, right, which essentially ensure that payment happens when you are near to the device or near to the terminal, right? So that's the one thing. Second thing, while there are lots of interaction which happens in the entire ecosystem, right, from your NFC to your settlement partner, your banking partner, and so on and so forth, and there's a layer of data which has to kind of transit in between. But over the years, our data security mechanisms have evolved a lot. That's number one. Number two, there are fraud checks and balances which are in place. Number three, while it's a variable payment, right, which are stitched to multiple form factors, there's still a control setup or control mechanism which is set up in your app, right? So in case there's some kind of mishandling, which happens, or misuse which happens, there's lots of prevention mechanisms which are in place. So uh, at this point of time, I think variable payments are completely safe. Thanks to the regulators, thanks to the technology, and thanks to the intervention which all of us in the industry have done. And we at Xiaomi, we are very careful about making sure that customers do get the comfort that everything is safe. It's in safe, and you can just go and wave and pay.
Okay, great, good. Good. Yeah, so I think a lot of interesting work happening, and real work happening in all the three companies. Yeah, so from making payments invisible, right up to fulfillment, to make it earning tool using variables. That's the interesting part. Now moving on to the second question. We know India. We are already leaders in the digital payment space, right? We have beaten China as well, right? And I'm sure all of us also want to be leader in the wearable space. But India has typical challenges of low affordability. Smartwatches and all are typically considered expensive. We have internet issues, low literacy rates, etc., etc. So how do you think India can take the lead in the wearable space as well? And we can masses can adopt it. Like last week, there was a conference on Aadhaar 2.0, where Amitabh Kanji said that actually it's the private players who have taken the rails built by the NPCIs and by the RBIs and really made UPI adopted by the masses. So how are all of you imagining the adoption by the masses of wearables?
So
Maybe Ashish, you want to take it up first?
absolutely. Let me just take this up, right? And see, at a broad level, if you look at, right, there are two things which are required, right? First thing, we need to build various bricks, in order to build the entire ecosystem, right? The second thing is habit formation, which comes, over time. Now, if you look at over the years, the digital, payment adoption in the country have gone up thanks to the entire effort put in by government, NPCI, and lots of other players in this segment. There is a increasing comfort, right, which have been built in the entire ecosystem. Second, if you look at because of the pandemic and because of the entire hygiene factor requirement, contactless payment over last 1.5 years have seen a tremendously high adoption, right? And I believe contactless payment through wearable can increase the adoption rapidly, primarily because of four things, right? One is convenience, right? It's very convenient, it's very fast, right? A transaction which takes anywhere between 25 30 seconds with a wearable payment takes just 5 to 10 seconds. Second is a style, right? Beyond a point, customers also have to start, thinking about the style factor and couple of the form factors. The third thing is a safety, right? Some of the layers which we spoke about, earlier is completely, safe. You know, and then of course there's going to be affordability. Now, if you look at from affordability standpoint, there are two things. First thing, uh, different form factor which are available in the country and which are being developed by different players, including us, right? Right from rings to keychains to wearable, which is in terms of watches and fitness band. And if you look at primarily fitness band and watches, because that's a highest growing category at this point in the country, the kind of price range which is available is anywhere between sub 1,500 rupees all the way up to 50 60,000 bucks and above, right? So that's the one thing. Second thing, if you look at we as a Xiaomi or as a Mi Financial Services, what we are doing, we are also kind of looking at and embedding this entire NFC into Strap, right? So rather than you or any customer looking to own wearable, which could be slightly on the higher side of the payment or higher side of the price point, uh, a Strap could be sub 1,500 rupees kind of piece, right? So there's a affordability piece which is going to be there. While this is one side of the story, there's a second side of the story, which is more of a availability of those terminals, right? Because if you need to build that kind of infra, it's going to be quite expensive. But thanks to all the reduced price of the NFC devices and all the new technology which are coming up in terms of smart POS, and couple of others, which essentially makes your phone itself a terminal, right? So hence, even the affordability from the perspective of setting the infra is pretty high, right? So that's a second piece. Now, third thing, if you look at closely over the years, because of the entire cash to card to UPI transaction to now the contactless, and now we are looking at moving towards a wearable payment. There are lots of event specific things which are also happening, right? So if you look at entire initiative of one nation one card, right? Enabling all the terminals across different touch points, right? Those things are gonna create lots of adoption. The last piece is about the form factor and making sure that even the people who are not very tech savvy or not very comfortable with the tech, your entire form factor becomes very reasonable and easy for them to understand, right? Which is right from the vernacularization of the entire app, which is required in order to fix this entire piece, to making sure you know uh, that you are able to have the strap pieces which doesn't require too much of internet connectivity, which doesn't require any need to regularly charging and couple of other pieces. In my view, I think will ensure that we are able to adopt this pretty fast, and if we are able to do that, the kind of convenience which will get delivered will essentially make sure that there is a habit formation which happens.
Okay. So Paytm has been an expert in mass adoption. So Sajal, how are you going to do it for variables?
So basically, mass adoption for Paytm happened because mobile internet got mass adopted.
Okay.
It became cheaper. The devices became cheaper, and once people were on internet, they were able to do a lot of things online, a lot of financial things online, which they could not do earlier. Obviously, UPI helped a lot. It was a low cost rail system, which basically low cost systematic rail, which ensured that transactions were happening at a very cheap cost for merchants, for consumer, and everyone else, right? So essentially, if you look at it, a lot of things comes into play for an ecosystem to be mass adopted, right? And the best part today is, because of all the things that has happened, a lot of customers today have financial transaction history digitally available, which wasn't available in the past, right? Now what this basically means, it's time to have more evolved products out there in the market. That is why now we are seeing suddenly this explosion of credit. Indian credit card penetration is extremely low, right? Like we moved away, like we skipped the whole web desktop based web revolution and moved directly to mobile. I personally think there's a high chance that the customers in India would probably be moving to more evolved form of instruments for credit, right? And that is exactly where wearable devices starts coming into play. Credit is just one example,
Right.
like I said. So the whole point is, I believe the consumers in the country today are primed to take on more evolved financial services instruments, more evolved transaction methods. So it's both, right? One is the instrument, second is the method. Both things, we are seeing huge maturity among customers on today. And as Ashish was saying, the costs are coming down. You can basically put a chip in a strap, which essentially ensures the affordability also gets taken care of. So just basis that, we believe the adoption of variables will explode. It honestly will require few private players to be working aggressively in this space, and I personally think there are a lot of private players who are working aggressively in this space, both on the adoption side, which is merchant side, or on the customer side. Um, so that all of that is in place. So I think it's about time that we start seeing a huge growth in transactions on this. Last point being uh, being basically, if you think about it, it's also a trend of sort, right? At the end of that, it's a network. Once a sufficient number of people starts taking it on board, the whole network starts exploding. And transit, one nation, one card, Ashish talked about. It's probably a very great use case to bring variables into a consumer's habit, and then that habit starts taking shape, and then the user starts using variable for payments across uh, beyond transit as well. Just giving you an example. So basically, we need to find those couple of hero use cases which are mass adopted, and then I think we are just sitting on that inflection point where it can take up from there.
Interesting. Sajal, you talked about credit as a use case. I think it's very interesting. The gap, how can variable close that gap of credit? And then the network effect, absolutely. I think we are at that tipping point with the one nation, one card coming in. So, Sachin, from a health point of view, what is the use case for mass adoption?
No, so again, I think what Sajal and Ashish has already stated is what has really driving. India has seen various jumps, from desktop to mobile, from 2G to 4G. So there are a lot of escape things which happen in India, and again, some of the factors which is has also affected is penetration of internet, mobile is also. And digitalization of whole payment structure is something which is really pushing everybody. And like 2 years back, we were not thinking much about, or they were not seen that too many people using QR code. Today everybody knows what is a QR code and how to make a transaction using that. That's a UPI at the end of the day. So people are getting adopted to that, and we have seen that from the health perspective also, there's a lot of awareness. There's a lot of inclination for the users to come and say that I want to become more healthier. And a fitness tracker, which is in the form of wearable, and which also serves the purpose of your payment, can be really effective for user to do this. Again, there has to be multiple use cases. Sajal was saying that for adapting any form of usable product. So the users over here are looking at multiple use case. So just wearing a fitness tracker which only does the tracking of their health is a good thing, but add to that making a capability of making a payment and earning rewards using that is for furthermore enhancement to the use case. So again, those type of user behavior can be really modified when you provide a solution which is solving various purpose and bringing more use cases to the users. So I think that itself is going to help penetrate more. Uh, Awareness towards the health has really grown, and last year in one of the IDC report, we have seen that India has seen 150% jump in wearables sale during the pandemic also. So there's a huge demand, there's a huge requirement, and as well as understanding from the health perspective. Users are thinking health. Few of the words which is pretty much people now understand. Immunity is one of the word which people now have understood, that what does that immunity means, and how does you can take care of it. And the smallest thing, or the first step for doing that or keeping yourself healthy is to walk. And wearable helps you to do that. It quantifies that how much you're walking in a day, and that gives you a starter. And that's how we think with the health angle, there's a huge opportunity for us to penetrate bigger use case like payment, mobility, and other places.
Okay, okay. I'm also seeing a comment in the chat box saying that wearable penega India, healthy banega India. So, so
Yeah.
yeah, Sachin, to your point, yes, that can be a very good way to increase the adoption. Now, whenever we are talking of wearables and chips and all, we also see that there's a shortage, global shortage of chips, right? So, how will the wearable industry be impacted, and what actions are you taking to address this shortage? And are the software-based solutions like, say, virtual cards, virtual IDs, the way forward? Yeah. So, Sachin, maybe you can take that up.
So I think I'll touch
Yeah.
upon the first part of shortage of the chip. Of course, every industry who's dependent on chip supply are affected. Definitely, wearable and fitness wearable space is also affected. However, there's always trade off that. There's a lot of other opportunity for us to come in. As we said, I think Sajal mentioned about phone becoming your POS terminal. So today, even the phone has a lot of capabilities of tracking your health parameters. So between your phone and your tracker, you're able to even manage a lot of your health data. So that's one of the alternate is there. Of course, overall there will be a shortage, as well as there has to be innovation done on this space. Wearable is dependent on the on a physical chip, because it is a physical device. We cannot really interact with a virtual devices. Like in case of a payment, we definitely see there are virtual card alternative for replacing the plastic. Or similarly, we have tokenization, other platform also, or QR code as an or UPI as an alternate. But for wearable, we are dependent on chip. So I think that dependency is going to be there, and we hope that this will overcome soon.
Yeah. Ashish?
So, Kamaljeet, as Sachin said, right, while the wearable, tech is kind of dependent on chip, and of course, any shortage will have some kind of impact. While it should not hamper any kind of adoption, at least in the near future, right? And as an industry, we are hoping this situation will come under control and will get sorted out pretty soon. So that's one thing. Second thing, as an alternative, while there are lot many things which can be worked out. On the wearable side, there's a huge dependency on NFC. But if you look at a couple of other markets with some kind of experiment which has happened and can be done in India as well, but that would be limited to a particular form factor, which is going to be a smartwatch only, where you have the screen, where I can possibly create my own personalized QR code. Having said that, that increases the friction, right? That increases or reduces the convenience, right? So while there could be alternatives which will help us reduce the friction, increase convenience. At this point in time, looks like NFC and RFID. These are our two, great solutions. And hopefully, chip shortage, will definitely come under control in a couple of quarters.
Sajal, does this impact you, the chip shortage?
Yes, it does actually. So we definitely, as a consumer of these chips, so to say, basically I'm the guy who buys from the vendors, right? So for me, I have to plan my. So it's an evolving industry. An evolving industry basically means that there are a lot of experimentations that we keep on doing to find out what works for our customers. The speed of that experimentation gets impacted. I'll have to be way more planned in what I'm trying to do because I may not have enough inventory to essentially do a good pilot in the market, a large scale pilot in the market. Second, when it comes to virtual card adoption, I personally think uh, it's more driven by the customers than by the market forces on chip shortage and other such market forces. Primarily because at the end of the day, it's the customer behavior which changes. If virtual cards get adopted, they can still lie in a form factor called a smartwatch, uh, right? And at the end of the day, any such so the behavioral change is bound to happen because of the changing requirements. It is just going to take the easiest possible route, so to say.
Yeah.
And so maybe 2 to 3 years down the line, I don't think this will have any tangible impact. Short term, there might be certain impacts in what is getting implemented and getting done.
Sure, sure, sure. Great, great. So that leads us to the last part, which is how we started the science fiction part and how India will look like 3 to 5 years from now. I'm sure we are all in a hurry to make it happen very quickly. If we close our eyes and if we imagine ourselves, especially in the variable payment and transaction and the health space, what is it that you dream of 3 to 5 years from now? Sachin, you, Ashish, anybody,
So I think from not just from the payment perspective, but from the health perspective also, what we think, and again, it's a science fiction we have seen many times in various movies and places, that between your wearable, between your phone, or even thinking of an implant, you will become like a self-centered for any kind of behavior in the world. So whether it's a payment, whether it's your identity, whether it's a tracking your health and vital, everything will be there. So so that is something which we think that is going to be future, and more data which is getting generated will be very very easily accessible, shareable, and which will help the entire ecosystem to grow much much faster. So I think the whole connectivity, whole connected environment which has now come up, is going to really boost all this. Form factors are going to get, as Kamaljeet was saying, invisible in going forward. That is what the future looks like, and it will be very very easy, convenient, as well as secure for user to manage all kind of their data, whether it's a health, whether it's the financial data, and to do transaction in the real world. So that's what we believe that is going to is the future for wearable as well as in the health space.
Okay, so the wearable will become implantable.
I mean, I'm saying that's one of the way, but definitely what it carries is your data. So you can
Right.
carry your data across everywhere. So in no longer required to carry no number of files when you visit to a doctor or for a hospital. It's all
Yeah.
there with you, and you can just share with your doctor or hospital. Similarly, if you want to make a transaction, it's there. You can make a transaction using that.
Right. Ashish, your dream?
Okay, so let me just pick up, something from what I've read. I think 2 3 days back, where I don't know the authenticity of that article, but looks like Apple has claimed, right, in 10 years, phone they'll stop, manufacturing phone, right? The world is moving very fast, right? We are now talking about the metaverse. We are talking about AR, VR, and whatnot. I think lot many things which are happening right now will have an implication and impact in terms of what will happen 3 to 5 years down the line, right? While see, there would always be a set of segment of the customer who will continue to have a habit in terms of using the cash, but that's gonna reduce down to as minimum as possible. uh, there's significant shift which is going to definitely happen in terms of variable, and variable are going to get more smart and smart. I could see some of the questions which were there on the screen in terms of what if battery runs out, what if this happens, that happens. uh, I think that's one thing which will happen, which is can this be embedded into your own form factor, which is you're close to whatnot, and that becomes a payment instrument. Could be possible. The second, which is where entire focus is going forward, which is about your glasses, right? Spectacles, right? That's gonna drive a lot of things, given that it will get you closer to the some of the metaverse per se. In nutshell, I think 3 to 5 years, contactless will become the 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 way UPI has become, so far. I think the wearable will become the pioneer, and I think the form factor of the wearable itself will change, and it will get more associated with something which you use or consume on a day-to-day basis, in order to make sure that you have the convenience on your wrist or on your eyes.
Okay. Sajal?
Yeah. So, talking a little bit from a payment perspective, because that is my area of expertise. See, payment essentially is a communication with a trusted verification layer on top,
Yeah.
right? In the past, we were using text to communicate. Then we went to images, which basically is a slightly simpler form of perception for a consumer in terms of text. Now we are probably seeing movement to voice. I know there are companies in China which are basically saying smile to pay, which is facial recognition and stuff, right? So the whole method of communication is evolving to being more and more simpler. I may not be the best person to talk about what is the token which will basically have that variable. It could be your clothes, it could be your glasses, or anything like that. But I personally think how this variable or how this device will communicate with us will become way more simpler, and more intuitive. Uh, People are saying you can have thought-based communication as well. Obviously, that's way more futuristic, and maybe not just 3 to 4 years down the line. But the point is, it's just going to be way more intuitive and faster and easier for the person to use. So that's basically my 2 cents when it comes to payments via these via the variables.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, the future is quite exciting. Implants and smile, and other forms of mobile phones, right? So quite interesting. So a lot of excitement to look forward to. So great. Yeah, I think we have time left. Maybe one question. We have a minute left. I'm seeing a question from Ankur Khera. What do you think? Which one will have higher adoption in the variable-based payments? Prepaid like Delhi Metro, cards, wallets, or postpaid instruments? So Sajal, maybe you want to take it up?
Yeah. See, purely from a regulatory standpoint, prepaid is a single factor authentication instrument. That essentially means that you can have the convenience bit far easily built in, which gives prepaid a slight bit of edge. But there's a big but here, which is that you have to preload the wallet, which adds a little bit of a action from the user side to do. So postpaid will probably be big, but for that to be big, that trust problem have to be solved, where a credit or a postpaid um, instrument provider can essentially provide that money or provide that transaction flow to the user and have a good chance of recovery. So as the information flow become better and the connectivity become consumers and merchants and the service financial service provider becomes better, postpaid will start growing significantly. But today, prepaid, just because it's a single factor authentication, is a easy use case and quick and probably a very quick adoption opportunity.
Perfect, perfect. I think we are out of time. So thanks a lot, Ashish, Sachin, Sajal, and especially to all the audience who have joined and all the questions, comments they are passing. They are putting in the chat box. So Deepika, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Rastogi. Thank you to all the panelists for such an interesting and an insightful session. I would also like to give special thanks to our delegates who attended this session. So thank you so much for being a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.